you for coming along today. The chalice has been passed to K2 Architects. An introduction quickly. I'm Mark Davis, co-founder of K2 Architects, along with Kevin Horton, the other co-founder. I guess why us? There's a legacy of problems with this site. I guess a lot of people in this room are probably aware of the problems from trying to move the site forward. What does the vision need to be? I'm quite interested to see just a quick show of hands. Who's aware of the site? Who's been to the site? Who visited the site? Okay, so it's most of the room. Who hasn't? Who's not aware of Festival Garden? Great, so 100%. No pressure, Kev. So as Mayor Anderson said, the site is approximately 85 acres. Its location is absolutely crucial. We have the city centre, the wider regions, city centre, 3 miles south, Festival Garden, you all know where it is. 34 hectares site, southwest facing, a little bit of shelter from the Mersey, but an absolute critical site. This is a destination that can be something world class. So kind of Dingle Glen, this is the old site from the 1850s to 1920. Dingle Glen coming down to Knott's Hole, Jericho Shore, a utopia that the Victorians bathed in. Then came the fill. Methane, landfill from the north, as Kevin alluded to, debris from World War II, from the Queensway tunnel, working its way south into household waste contained within the site, but obviously a big issue, and there's developers in this room that are aware of these big issues. It then became the Garden Festival site, mid-80s, sat dormant to the present. So how do we remediate? How do we look at this as a legacy project? If we move some of the spill, some of the contamination to one part of the site, it moves the issues to another part of the site. What we're trying to do here is free up as much development opportunity for the site, both external space and the built environment. So we came up with quite a vision. When you move spoil on site, you create a barrier around it, approximately 250 metres, where you can't develop any residential housing. What we wanted to do is turn that muck, that fill, into an income, into electricity. We created a headland. This is only a schematic diagram. This will have to look at shipping lanes and look further down the line into the technical issues, hence the schematic diagram. So we contain the entire remediation into a concrete bunker. That will be landscaped over. It will become a headland, the Great Orme of Liverpool. We then take that methane and we turn it into electricity. Now this is the clever bit. We've been working with early studies with Arabs, and we believe we can feed back into the grid 3,000 homes a year over a 70-year period. This is not bailing off site and looking at all the technical issues, the cost. It's dealing with the issues on site and not moving it to another fill, another spoil. This is the big picture. Then comes the strategy. Kevin at K2 is the strategist. I'll pass back to you here, Kev. Explain how we've carved the site up.
Yeah, so what Mark's just explained to you then is how we've basically turned all the waste into a power source that can create an income for 70 years. The waste has been dealt with, and it's now time to look at the sort of strategic planning of the site. One of the first, and this just sort of describes how we're thinking about zoning it, all the big moves to kick off with, and one of the big ones is to obviously, it's all about sustainability. We've done a lot of positive things already, as you can see, but first of all we've got to reconnect with the railway line at St Michael's, because that gives us a link not only to Liverpool city centre but also to the airport and beyond. And we thought as well it would be a great opportunity to bring back the ferry, which everyone talks about now and again, but the South Dingle ferry terminal. It's just an exciting opportunity to bring tourists, visitors to the site, and also connected with the Wirral, connected potentially with Manchester. I mean, if you talk about day trips and things like that now, that then creates this axis through the site, which is what we call the visitor economy. This is about, and this big circle here is about the sort of what we call the cultural visitor lifestyle sort of zone, if you like, at this particular point. To the north, we've got the residential area, which is complemented by the lifestyle option. And then as we move to the south, and obviously we're moving further and further into the suburbs all the time, because this is a 1.8 kilometre site, we are creating more leisure opportunities, more greener spaces, less development, and a lot more amenity, if you like. So, don't panic, this is just an illustrative process at the moment. We're not sort of building super towers or anything. But this is all about then how do we turn those zones into neighbourhoods. And it's about articulating the landscape and moving around, creating a sense of identity into each neighbourhood, exploring the various massings. So I talked about how it could be quite densely massed at this side, and we're sort of exploring 8 stories rather than 30 stories at this point, all the way down to nothing at the far south end. Now this is the cultural zone, and we think it's very important to cultural zones. You know, we're talking about lifestyle restaurants, sort of independence, that kind of thing, all linked through that big axis we talked about to a ferry terminal here, restaurants, bars, that kind of thing, and that has to have quite a strong relationship with the waterfront. I think that's the key advantage. So that's why we started to sort of crenulate it, if you like, and that's very similar to what it used to look like. It obviously didn't look like that in the 19th century, but to start to take away that sort of austere, simple promenade wall that we had. This just basically just captures all the big moves, if you like. As you can see, the leisure area. We're trying to retain some of the original aspects of the Festival Gardens, and obviously a lot of love for that site. So we want to integrate that into a cultural venue, cultural offer, which could be a Tivoli Gardens, it could be a water park, but then complemented by something a bit more like a cultural, more sophisticated palace of something or other. Don't forget, this is a vision, and there's a long way to go yet. So finally, I just want to show, before Mark takes you to the exciting visual section, this is the final image where we take that illustrative process and start to try and create a more literal interpretation, if you like. And as you can see here, we've kind of, with the residential area, it's very self-contained, it's very personal, but it also is very well connected to this site, so you get that good balance between privacy and connectivity. But then we've also looked at density and scale, and obviously as we go into the cultural area, we're bringing the scale down a little bit. This would be the event space here. This could be for concerts, things like that. And then obviously independence here up in the Festival Gardens with that Tivoli Garden atmosphere. We've got a potential cultural venue at the top, and then this fuel cell, which is what we call it, becomes that headland, and that becomes somewhere where people can just go for a walk and just explore and enjoy wildlife, and take in the scenery and the view and the sunsets and things. And then north of that, we have a beach. South of that, and it's southwest facing, is a beach, which sort of, again, is another opportunity for families, suburbia, that kind of thing, to sort of engage with the waterfront, somewhere of play, somewhere of just family activities, really. So we're trying to, and as we move further south, it tapers into fisheries and more relaxing sort of garden-y spaces kind of thing. So that kind of is the basics of the master plan at the moment. Mark will now show you some visuals.
It's not a master plan, it's still a vision, Kevin. Okay, guys, we live on a river. We're not allowed to really swim in the river. If there's one thing that Brexit has taught me personally, is we clean this river up, and we want to re-engage and let people swim back in the Mersey in a controlled environment here, behind walls. They will not swim out into the Mersey. This is of you arriving from ferry, connecting across to Wirral Waters, back to the city. What you see when you arrive, the headland in the distance, animation at the front through people and culture. If you were expecting skyscrapers today, I'm sorry to disappoint you, we're placemaking here at the moment. Animated fronts, independent restaurants, starting to bleed into buildings. The idea of the Ferris wheel, the park beyond, bringing the landscape through to touch the water. Let's re-engage with this fantastic river. Music, culture, everything that this city is known for, this is where we want to drive it. This is placemaking and understanding spirit of place that goes back hundreds of years to Jericho Shore, when people would come down here and engage with the waterfront. But but also intimate spaces, not toll. We want to recreate that cliff, open up that history and create areas where you can explore. It's a windy site, let's get some intimacy into the spaces. It's very soft, it's landscape driven. In the background we start to reveal some of the buildings, some of the potential high-rise, albeit 8 to 12 stories. And again, simple fishery, looking kind of south of the site, looking back north. And then the idea that can we produce a modern palm house, a cultural building, back in the centre of the park. This image is starting to allude that this will be an underpinned park with a beautiful modern palm house, culture, music, festivals. Roscoe, William Roscoe, thank you. He was inspired by this place as we're inspired. So as we move up to the cultural building, what could it be? We honestly don't know. The city are in negotiations with a number of operators. We're being suitably vague. How could it feel? So from the water's edge, crenellated walls that start to meander into a glass house. How could it feel inside? Hopefully very futuristic. This will be the next stage in months to come when we do look at the master plan. That's it. We did a bit of artwork with a photographer and we managed to get a giant dog down to the site that's reminiscent of the huge puppets that come to this city. Let's carry them down to South Liverpool. Ladies and gentlemen, that is it from K2. This is a vision. Hopefully you can see there's a future for this site. I'm going to hand back across to Simon for Q&A and to Mayor Anderson. Thank you.